All right, and let's see if I can do the intro and not completely flub it up again.
Language.
Creativity in progress.
Hello and welcome to Creativity in Progress, where we talk about creativity in a podcast. My name is Nathan Beatty, and here with me I have
Ethan Murphy, his biggest friend.
And
all right, Ethan's friend.
Hello, how y'all doing today?
I survived Comic-Con LA, or LA Comic-Con 2019.
Yes, please tell us all of it.
Yes.
I mean, it's both of you guys have obviously been to cons. I've been to cons with both of you guys, but LA Comic-Con is in LA, so of course it's hustling and bustling and $25 for parking and cops. I hate everybody, but but my friends, my dear, sweet, beautiful friends, the fans, the people that go there are amazing. There were so many cosplayers. So this year is about twice as many people as last year, and last year was crazy jumping. The LA Convention Center is already packed to the gills, but it was even more this year. So much so that on Saturday, there was a line wrapped around the building, and people waiting in line for about an hour to an hour and a half. And they were getting upset and irate, almost riots were breaking out because people were like, we've been waiting here for so long. How can you not keep us out here? What's going on? It was getting pretty bad, pretty hostile out there. And the reason I found out afterwards was because there was a big cosplay contest that night. And I think there was like a cash prize of some kind, and they didn't properly staff the people to, because there's so many cosplayers, so they didn't properly staff enough people to sign up and process all the people that wanted to be involved with the cosplay contest, because you couldn't just go up on the stage willy-nilly. You had to pretty much be judged beforehand, long beforehand. So all that slowed down the process so much that it was just a mess.
Oh man!
But I was able to get in. Obviously, the vendors could get in through the back door or what have you. But it was craziness.
Oh man, that sounds like a lot of fun. Wasn't this the one that? Wasn't this the one that was the like last year was the last appearance of Stan Lee? Public appearance.
Yes. Yeah. And this actually is his. This is his Legacies convention. It's not a Wizard World Con. It's a actual. It's not affiliated with that at all. It was originally called Stan Lee's Comic-Con or Stan Lee Kamikaze, I believe. Now it's just called LA Comic-Con. And they had a whole memorial service, a memoriam for him up at the big stage. They had all kinds of artwork that was originally done for him and stuff. They had swag bags with him on it and everything else. So, and Ari and Nate, how are you guys?
Ari, you go ahead.
Good. Oh, yeah, I'm good. I told Ethan before, but I'm cleaning my living space and making it actually habitable. And it's been an experience. And, at least I smell clean and fresh.
Of course.
But yeah, it's I've been working on it 3 days and I haven't even. It's been a time, but it's been very rewarding.
I have done that before. Currently, I'm in the middle of going through my. So you were working on your room, like an entire room. I was just working on my magic collection and just trying to get that thing figured out. And that's been fun.
Do your thumbs ever get tired going through cards?
No. Why would I?
Oh.
he said suspiciously and embarrassed.
Well, no. What was funny was I was hanging out with some buddies last week when we were playing cards, and we were talking about a way you can play Magic called Cube, and Cube requires a lot of setup. It can the way we're going to do it, it does, and I have volunteered to do it, and my one buddy Eric was like, dude, that's a lot of prep work. Are you sure you want to do that? And I was like, man, I just spent 3 hours this afternoon sorting my cards for fun. And he went, okay, go ahead.
Yeah. That's one thing I've noticed about you. You are so different from Ari and I, especially that you love doing prep work and getting in the gritty of those kind of details. It's just not, it's not the more power to you. More power to you.
If it's something you love, then I understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's.
But that's one thing I understand.
I'm glad that people like you because I am not like you. And the world needs people like you.
Well, but see,
Oh my God.
the important thing to remember though is that like, yeah, I do this with magic cards, but I don't do it with anything that really matters. Like this office is like a wreck, but my magic cards are pristine. So it's just it's all dependent on how you look at it, I guess. So.
Sure, of course.
Magic matters to you, so it matters, and it's something that you love, and it's awesome that you like you can love this thing and you pay attention to the thing, and I don't know, it matters. Don't say it doesn't matter because it matters. It matters.
Right.
Can you talk to the warden?
Let the record show. Well, let the record show, and I'm going to actually have the soundbite dropped in every episode that Nate officially said that quote Magic the Gathering doesn't matter.
Well,
so anytime we have a discussion about Logan Browning or anime, I will literally drop that soundbite in. Magic the Gathering doesn't matter.
I can't wait until we do the clip bit, and I just have like a 5-minute thing of you going Logan Browning, Logan Browning, Logan Browning, Logan Browning, Logan Browning.
5 minutes, sir. You underaim. You underaim.
5 minutes to an hour.
Yes.
5 minutes to it. Yeah, to an hour. Speaking of which, Ari told me the overwhelmingly horrible news today that had me pull off the side of the road and cry for a while about the casting Catwoman. Did you want to tell the audience who's been cast?
Yes. Well, it's not horrible for me, but it is for you.
Yes,
and I am for that. I am sorry. But Catwoman has been casted, and it's Zoe Kravitz, but not Logan Browning.
Oh.
Yes.
Well,
the headline literally, the headline actually just said, and Catwoman is not Logan Browning. At the very, very bottom, a small print. Oh, by the way, it
was just for you. They phrased it that way just for you.
And in all fairness, Zoe Kravitz is great, but
yeah. Well,
I mean, I love her.
Yeah, she's fine.
Yeah, I was gonna say while Ethan, sad for you, but I'm stoked. Zoe Kravitz, yes,
yeah,
please,
totally on board.
Yes, please.
Right. And I think if I had never heard the rumors that Logan Browning was in the running, it would have been fine. If if I just woken up and heard Zoe Kravitz, like, oh, that's awesome, that's great. I can definitely see her do it. That's great. It works. But because my heart and maybe other body parts were set on it being Logan Browning. When it wasn't her, I was like, oh, kind of,
yeah,
a little bit sad, but I'll get over it.
Yeah,
I can understand that. Yeah. I can understand that.
Yeah. It's like me with Robert Pattinson as Batman. Like, what the fuck is that?
No, I think that wasn't just you. That was a lot of people that were like, huh? A lot of people did a massive.
I won't judge, too much until I see his performance. But
sure.
I don't like his face. I'll just say that much.
No offense, but sir, I don't like your face.
Well, I know this joke has been made 100 times, but geez, the crappiest vampire ever. It takes him how many years to turn into a bat? But
it's true.
Sparkly Batman. But
that's why I'm curious if he does that. He sparkles.
Yeah, if he sparkles.
The one thing I really like about him is that he absolutely hates being Edward.
He does.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh yeah. Okay.
He does say that. No, I was gonna say this is something Dave and I talked about before. I think we had a guest on as well, maybe Steven or somebody. But how Robert Pattinson actually is a genuinely good actor. It's that his claim to fame, despite his urgings, was the Twilight series, and that doesn't showcase his actual talents at all. Pretty much every other thing he's done, just outside of that, from The Rover to The Lighthouse, which just came out, to the Good Time. All those are amazing performances. It's good gracious, but he just got stuck and labeled with that horrible. Now, I mean, to those who, there are plenty that like that. Plenty of folks that like that series. Great, more power to you. But I think this is kind of could be a great way to kind of showcase that. And again, happen to be Batman and Bruce Wayne happen to do a great job, and so people will now become synonymous with being a good Batman as opposed to weird Edward.
Yeah, it'll get him out of that sort of association that I still have, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I would love to like him as an actor. I just haven't seen enough of him not being Edward Cullen. which yeah.
No, that's fair. That's perfect. And then you're in the majority. Most people haven't, because most of his good movies are in very small indie films. So, yeah, you're the majority.
And I think I said this when we talked about it the last time. You know, like when Heath Ledger was cast as the Joker, people lost their freaking minds. Heck, if you even want to go further back, like you go back to Michael Keaton, like when they cast Michael Keaton as Batman, people were like, really? That short guy? What are you talking about? And that, you know, he's a comedic actor. Yeah. And you know, now granted, you know, the aging of that performance, but like with Heath Ledger, you know, people were up in arms, and Ben Affleck, my God, you know, and even then, like I kind of feel the same way with Ben Affleck and Robert Pattinson, where it's like, I can't see it, but I'm gonna see it before I, you know, because
judgment.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because like I think Ben Affleck was one of the better Batmans. You know, like definitely did better than Val Kilmer. You know.
Oh my God. So here's the thing about Ben Affleck's Batman. Ben Affleck did a great job as far as the Bruce Wayne and playing Batman in action, but that Batman voice, because it was modulated, didn't quite work for me. And then also the idea that he lost his mind saying, "Why'd you say that name about Martha?" Well, so his performance has so much, and then he didn't give he literally, to quote Ari, didn't give a rat's testicle about his performance in Justice League. He was done. You could tell on screen. He was like, "I'm not being." Yeah. So his performance is very jaded to me. Michael Keaton, his performance as actual Batman is kind of how I actually see him and envision him, as kind of a weird, creepy, a guy in a bat suit on the street at night in Gotham. That's how he would be. He'd be kind of stilted head and kind of weird and creepy. That's what you want. So I still actually really enjoy his performance. Obviously, Kevin Conroy is the granddaddy of them all. Oh, yeah. But as far as on-screen performances go in the bat suit, Keaton's still probably my favorite.
Yeah, oh, yeah. Well, yeah. See, believe it or not, I'm actually going to say, am I going to say this? Yes.
Another hot take?
Put it on record. Actually, it's a tie. It's a tie. No, granted, I'm talking on screen. Kevin Conroy, obviously, he's the voice. He will forever be Batman. But on screen, I would actually put it a tie between Christian Bale and Ben Affleck, because, like, you didn't like the modulated voice of Ben Affleck. The "Who are you?" from Christian Bale was just like, really.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Rachel.
Yeah, exactly. You did say Rachel. Yeah. Oh my God. Rachel.
I gotta say, I love Christian Bale. I haven't actually seen Ben Affleck's Batman, so I can't pass judgment on him. Unless what Ethan said, which I didn't say because I haven't seen it. So
that's your catchphrase for other stuff. That's your catchphrase for just life in general.
So I will say that my favorite live action Batman has to be Christian Bale.
That's fair. I actually really liked Christian Bale as Bruce Wayne, and his performance in his suit. His what they call how he moved. He moved really well.
Yeah, except for that cowl.
Cowl. Yeah,
he couldn't move his head. But they changed that in The Dark Knight, so it's fine.
Right. Yeah. And that's how Keaton had it too. Keaton had the same where he couldn't turn his head.
Yeah.
And he had to move his entire body, look around. So good times.
Yeah, that was hilarious to me. The one thing I didn't like about the Batman in The Dark Knight and the Christian Bale Batmans was the way his cowl did that like definition of the head thing, where like it cut in by the neck, and it just made it look like he had a pinhead. It was like no, but. I understand they had to do it for mobility and everything, but the way he fought and like the way they did that whole thing through those three movies, and just that was awesome. That was just awesome. So anyway,
it was so there's with all the we're not on the topic of whatever it is, but so the thing about it is with the Nolan Batman trilogy. In the first Batman film, there's a part where Batman, oftentimes when he's engaged in combat, they use a lot of swish panning. I guess to make him seem like a ninja, but the problem is, I saw it in the theater, it almost made me nauseous how much training they were doing. So that was a problem. Then in the second film, they fixed that, but like you said, they changed his the suit so much kind of like a pinhead in that suit with the mask and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Then they changed that. Then they kind of got used to that. And by the time you see that, they got to the third film where you have Bane's voice all kind of Bane out.
Yeah.
So it's like there's always as they fix one thing, another thing will come about. But it's still very serious.
Poor decision.
Yeah.
So
like
speaking of poor,
I love Christopher Nolan, but his directing on accents is really, is that what you want? But
yes.
Yeah.
So anyways, I'm sorry.
So we've decided after a popular vote that Ariana is going to do her best Bane impression for the rest of the episode, if not season, of Creativity in Progress.
We're gonna try to pull this train back on the track. Ethan, I think you were trying to roll us into our topic.
I was trying to, but I was using dynamite to do it. So the topic besides Ari's impressions was going to be today about tropes, because we're in the month of Halloween, as you just heard that amazing, wonderful Halloween score to open the episode up with this week and last week, performed by a jury guest. If you guess who, we give you a pancake. But the whole theme of this month of October is supposed to be kind of horror-esque or Halloween-esque type of stuff. Mm-hmm. And one thing that horror movies are notorious for is having tropes and cliches. The film Scream by Wes Craven, and was it 95, 94 in age?
Something like that, yeah.
It was famous for essentially satirizing and setting up so much of those tropes to actually use it as a framework for the entire film. The characters in the movie were aware of these tropes and cliches and actually used them to their advantage and disadvantage at times. Mm-hmm. So we thought we kind of deal with tropes, cliches from the horror genre, as well as movies in general. This is something that Nate and I have wanted to talk about for a while. I guess almost a year now. About movie tropes and cliches, so we thought we'd go ahead and edit this month of Halloween.
And this is one of those topics that we've always kind of danced around a lot of other subjects that we've talked about, like you know, that have gone into talking about them just in general. But I think it's especially interesting, like you said, with horror films. By the way, Scream was 1996, but like with horror films in particular, they seem to lean on tropes. I don't want to say more so than other genres, but they do so more blatantly than other genres, I think. You know, because there's just like obvious things that you expect from those movies that just kind of happen. And I do find it funny how they kind of like with Scream started like kind of a snake eating its tail. Like they've begun to recognize it and kind of make it a thing, which I find funny.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, part of the beauty of Scream was that they were essentially, because it's 96. So 96 was obviously essentially before the whole internet age of super awareness. So when they were kind of putting their flag down saying that we're aware, and Wes Craven and people that made that film were saying, yes, we're aware of all these overwhelming and prolific tropes of horror films, and we're still going to actually tell you how aware of them we are and use them to our advantage. Before you can come at us and say, oh my gosh, this is so cliche, or I've seen it 1,000 times before, we're aware of that too. And we still have them in here, but we're going to do it in a creative way. So it's kind of innovative in that right. Mm-hmm. But anyways, so one thing I guess the first trope that I wanted to kind of bring up was the very beginning of the film. So oftentimes in movies, especially horror movies, if there is a celebrity or the biggest name in the movie, in a horror movie, they're most likely to survive. It's just kind of how it is. Obviously paid the most, required the most effort to get that person. You're going to want to have that person in the movie as long as possible. And Scream opens with Drew Barrymore, who's had to have been the biggest name at the time, most likely in that film. And spoiler alert for Scream, she gets got very quickly in that movie. The opening scene, it's a great scene, great opening scene, but she gets got right away. And I remember being in the theater when Ari was still a very small child, maybe 1 or 2 years old. I was in the theater in 96 watching the movie, and I heard people audibly being like, oh, what happened? What? They were genuinely dismayed that Drew Barrymore was no longer in the movie, that she had gotten killed right away. So the trope oftentimes is that you expect what they call it, the final girl. You expect, quote unquote, final girl. You expect that person to be around to the very, very end and, of course, slay the monster. and that didn't happen in that movie. So final girls is a trope, and also celebrity surviving is a trope.
The trope would also be like you mentioned that you assume that she was going to survive through the entire movie because of contractual immortality.
Right.
But this would be like one of the first times that the shock value of like anyone can die is used.
Right.
So yeah, it just basically subverts that entire thing, like you just said.
Exactly.
Well, and I find that interesting, especially, and this was kind of the cool thing about Scream was it was one of those things where it was a nod to the true horror fans, like to the true, people who were really into the slasher films of the 80s and kind of knew those things. So like you said, like Ethan, like you said, there were people around you being like, what? Like, and I remember when I saw it, like I was one of those people. I was like, really? Like they took her out that early? Okay, that's weird. But I wasn't a fan of those films, so I didn't get, where like the horror fans sitting in the thing, they're going, oh wow, okay, we're in for a ride. And I find that interesting, and I find that I find it interesting how sometimes movies like Scream will do that.
And actually does tie into Cabin in the Woods, because Cabin in the Woods, through various means, there's a way that what's happening to this group of kids that's trapped essentially in a cabin in the woods. They're kind of being observed, and so the people that are observing them and whatnot are kind of, they themselves are essentially placing bets on who they think can survive or how long they think they will survive, and it's kind of, and they're doing it in a much more fun way as well. But yeah, that seems to be something that people do, even us casual fans watching a horror movie. When they start introducing the main cast, like, or here's the token, black guy, here's the jock, or here's the really smart girl, what have you, we kind of to ourselves and say, oh, I bet you that person will die 10 minutes in, or this person will die a half hour in, or I bet you this is the final person, or I bet you this guy is going to do what kind of things. Because we know there has to be a body count in a horror movie, and we know they have to kind of try to build it up the right way. It's also like in our own lives. If the three of us were in a horror movie, I know for a fact that I would die first for various reasons.
I would not be so sure about that.
Fair.
We may die together at the same time.
Oh,
that may happen.
That's so sweet. That's so charming.
I don't have high hopes for myself.
but I've seen you run before. I know you can run, and you're very tall. So
I can run, but only for like 3.5 seconds. And then I'm like,
that's better than most. That's better than most. So yeah, but it's funny to think about this kind of idea of like almost gambling on who has the best survival skills. Those kind of scenarios, worst case scenarios. How long do you think you survived, Nate? I mean, you're obviously a strong guy. You lift your kids up all the time. You run fast with kids under your arms.
You're very familiar with how things are supposed to go in horror movies.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, this is going to sound pompous, but I actually feel that I would have. I don't think I would make it to the end, but I would definitely make it pretty far. Like I would be the character that like sacrifices himself so that way the lead can survive, kind of thing.
I feel yes. I think I can see that. I can definitely see that 100%. Well, you're a tech guy. You're the smartest guy that we know, so I can definitely see you figuring out how to build all kinds of tools and gadgets. There was a game called Left 4 Dead a while back, and the whole point of it was being able to build and all kinds of different contraptions and whatnot to fight off a whole horde of zombies and all that kind of stuff. So I can see you building. I could definitely see you building miraculous gadgetry to destroy, like building a bomb or building some kind of a microphone gun to destroy a whole bunch
microphone
of
gun. Yeah, you will MacGyver a microphone gun together.
Yes.
Yep, I can see that.
It fires microphones.
So what you're saying is you will win the Hunger Games.
Yes, that's right.
Oh,
you
man. Oh, speaking of tropes. Anyway.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yes. Jesus.
So,
yes.
Well, how about we go around and say our favorite tropes from horror films?
Oh my God! Don't do this to me. Don't make me
make you think. All right.
What
We'll
ones
give
you
time
enjoy?
to look it up on your phone.
Okay, yeah, let me. Let me look at it.
So Nate, did you have one?
I will. Yes, in a second.
You type
As I type in,
as we hear you,
as I search for the weather tomorrow. That's what I'm doing. Searching for the weather.
Right.
Yep.
Cool. So I'll keep the ball kind of rolling sideways. One that I like a lot, and one I know Ari mentioned before, she liked too, was the tripping one, where someone is running. No, we were talking about it. You didn't actually like it. You actually were like, how it's so dumb that you always see it.
Yeah, don't say what I didn't say.
No. Yeah.
Just say that I mentioned it.
She mentioned one that she mentioned. One that Ari mentioned and then forgot that she mentioned it was the one where a person is running, and oftentimes the camera will actually be behind the person, so it's kind of like this, we're following them, like the monster's POV, so to speak. And the person will fall down on the ground. And the thing is, they trip over nothing, like literally nothing. And there's like this little tree branch, there's no like sidewalk that's jutting up. They just trip, just to trip. And they fall down all completely down on the ground. And also, we've all tripped. I'm extremely clumsy. I trip every day. But I very rarely actually fall all the way down to the ground on my knees and legs and everything else. But in horror movies, especially, people will trip and completely fall down to the ground, and then they'll lay there. They'll get in a sleeping bag and fall asleep and just lay there screaming as the monster approaches. You could easily just get back up, try running again, or chuck a roll or something, but they refuse to do that. And of course, I think part of what it is, which is kind of a dovetail to another trope. I won't steal too many, but oftentimes like Jason and Mike Myers, not so much Freddy, but other big monsters, the creature from the Black Lagoon, they only walk. They don't run, they don't sprint, they don't jump, they don't hop. They just walk or lumber very, very slowly. So unless these people fall, they'll never be caught. So the movies, we got to have them fall. They have to fall. They have to be catchable for a lumbering idiot that can't see at the mask at night. So.
Yeah, well, I have one, and this is this is a fairly common trope, and it's actually I shouldn't say it's one of the ones that I enjoy. So like maybe I'm flipping it on my head because I am the non-horror fan in the group, but it's one of the tropes that actually kind of drives me nuts about these things, and that is the "don't go in there" trope that just drives me bananas. Like seriously. Like everything is telling you that you go through that door and death awaits you, and you're just like, oh, let's see what's happening in here, you know. And oh my god,
why? Just turn around and exit the situation.
Yeah,
go home to your mom.
Yes, your mom. Yes, your mom.
So you can cry about what just occurred or what you just narrowly avoided.
Yeah, or brag to your mom. Mom, I just avoided this by seeing her walking away. Yes, exactly.
But yeah, the other one is death by sex, which is probably the other famous one. I know I'm taking like all the big famous ones, but that's one we don't see it as much anymore. But like that was the one that was always fun. Like even I knew it as someone who didn't watch horror films. I was like, oh, he's about to get some, then he's about to die.
Yes, exactly. And that's another thing they point out in with Scream and other movies. It's pretty much once you in Cabin in the Woods, they point out too. Once the safest person, oftentimes in these horror movies or slashers in particular, is the virgin. As long as you are pure and you'll be all right. You'll be safe. But as soon as you let it loose, it's like, oh no, you're asking for it.
I do not like that one for obvious reasons. It's like
because it seems like it's implying that having fun is a
because sex is bad and you can't enjoy sex because if you do, that makes you a harlot and you're tainted and horrible. It's stupid and it's always applied to women. So
right, usually it's women.
It's a like a vestigial annoyance that thankfully it seems that newer horror films if they have it in there at all, it's almost as a like making fun of the old trope. You know what I mean? Like it's not.
Right.
It doesn't seem to because it just doesn't track anymore. You know.
No.
Yeah.
Plus, it's kind of arbitrary because obviously, most people are doing it anyways. But one movie that was fun with it was It Follows. Have you seen It Follows, Nate?
Yeah. Well, I'm not Nate, but yeah.
I know you have. You saw it.
It's a pretty safe assumption that I haven't seen any of these films. So
okay, fair enough. I won't get into crazy spoilers again with this one. It follows. They make it's a big part of the plot that you have to have sex in order for the monster to pretty much engage with you. I mean, that's the whole point. So they're not trying to be sly or make a small little incidental. It's like no, this is the plot, and the best way to stay safe is just not to have sex at all. So.
Well, I mean, it's not. It is sort of preying on it's not preying on that virginity makes you pure. It preys on the fear of sexually transmitted disease, which is basically what the monster is. It's sexually transmitted.
Yes, literally.
So it's not necessarily that like if you have sex, you are tainted forever. Although it does touch on that, but it is using that trope of if you have sex, there's something that will come for you, and you have to transfer it to another person, which I find very interesting. And also, this is a great movie, man.
It's a great movie in general. Yeah.
It's more of like it's more of a thriller, Nathan. So if you're not like a horror movie fan, you might enjoy it anyway.
I think you would like it, Nate, because it's not gruesome really at all. It's not like it's a bloody. Yeah, it's not that. That's not the point, but at all. Really.
Yeah, I might check it out.
Yeah.
I do like thrillers. I do like a good thriller every now and again. I think one film that kind of teeters on the edge of horror but stays firmly in thriller is Seven, and that's one of my favorite movies of all time.
Yeah.
And that's one of the most gruesome.
That's a great movie.
Yeah,
it's a great movie, but it's very gruesome though.
Yeah. Very gruesome.
The interesting thing about that movie though is, and I think part of the reason why I liked it so much when I first saw it, and I've been interested in it since, is 90% of the crap that happens off screen, and this is also part of the reason why I like Hitchcock, because he was the master and part of the and also one of the originators of the idea of and he was forced to because of technology at the time, but he used the effect of why show it to them? Let them figure out what's going on. Where movies like I'll go with one that's right in front of my face, Saw. Like the Saw films are like, let's show it to them, and it's like where with Seven it was very much like, okay, yeah, we'll show you the aftermath, but you get to imagine what the actual thing was, which is very right.
Yeah.
100%.
Sometimes it's so much better that you don't see what it is.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oftentimes. The idea is that your imagination, I think I can't remember the exact way you phrased it, but the idea was that your imagination can paint a much more vivid, horrific picture than anything that any filmmaker can oftentimes produce. It was the same thing with Spielberg and Jaws, even though they wanted to have the shark Bruce in it more. They couldn't because you kept breaking it down. But then they realized if we just find ways to kind of imply that the shark is there or show the aftermath of the shark or show people's reaction to the shark, it can be even scarier. And it really does work. It was very effective. So yeah.
That's actually, it leads into one of my favorite tropes, which is like if a character sees this like inexplicable, unexplainable thing, that we, the audience, don't see, and then they go like mad from it. You see it a lot in Lovecraftian and like Eldritch stuff, and they just go crazy, and it's like, I don't know, I really enjoy that.
I do too,
because
kind of fun
it does play into you have to sort of imagine what it is, and what's even better is if you get like a little tiny glimpse, not like the whole thing, but enough to make you go I like it a lot.
The first thing in my mind comes to is definitely The Exorcist, when it shows, oh my gosh, what's his name, Nate? The demon that possesses Reagan.
Oh,
it's not Beelzebub.
Pazuzu.
Yeah, Pazuzu. Yeah. They only actually technically show its real visage or appearance like for half a frame or a frame. It's really, really quick. It's like a flash where you see his actual face, and it's a weirdest looking like big bright red eyed kind of fang teeth image of his face. but it's so quick that it's like, oh my gosh, it's so horrifying. And because it doesn't linger, it just burns into your retinas real quick. It's enough for you to get a taste of it, and you kind of like, oh, it freaks you out for a long time.
Which reminds me of the scene in Event Horizon, which is a film that I really like, and not a lot of people like, but I like it.
It's kind of following.
I've heard good things about it.
But yeah, and so the scene where the crew, there's like, God, it's actually been a really long time since I've seen it. But the crew see a recording of what happened to the old crew.
Yeah.
And there are flashes of what was occurring on board. Yeah. And if you ever find stills of, it's like subliminal basically, so you don't really see much of it, but your eye catches certain things. And if you find stills of that scene, you will be like, ugh. It's so gross, but also so awesome. So,
and I think it was part of what it was too. They wanted to have almost a higher, almost NC-17 level rating, but they had to flash them because those things were so over the top horrific they couldn't show them. Because the whole idea is they're literally flying into hell. So it's like the best bad you're gonna get. It's a good example there. Really good example. And there was another one too that came to mind. I mentioned this before I think on the podcast, the movie Sinister. I know that's not loved by everybody else, but I saw the crowded theater. I really enjoyed it. But in Sinister, the whole point is you're watching videos, like home recording videos of old-timey ones that were shot like on those old cameras. And so they have like a whole film grain going through them and whatnot. And Ethan Hawke is watching all these videos trying to piece together what this epidemic was of essentially what seems like kids being kidnapped by someone, and he's trying to track down who this predator was, and he comes to the idea that it's some kind of a real life boogeyman or whatnot. But these videos, it shows essentially how all these family members are dying, and the way it's shot, it just seems extra creepy because it seems somewhat real. And one of the videos is at night, and someone is using an old push mower, and it's from the perspective of the person driving or pushing the mower over the lawn at night. So you can't really see more than a foot in front of the mower. And it's just going along, and then all of a sudden you see this, I guess, mother and father, or this wife and husband lying in the grass with their mouths gagged, and they're looking right at the lawnmower as coming towards their heads, and they're shaking their heads no, eyes bugged out, and you see the mower go towards them, and it cuts right there. It's that's the most. I remember the theater. I remember being in the theater going, ah, because it's just so quick, and it happens, and it doesn't show anything. It doesn't show the actual mower going over their faces, but you know what's coming. And the way it pops up briefly, it's such a really cool idea. It just kind of flashes there really quick.
Yeah.
Another thing that you reminded me of too. Both of you guys reminded me of talking about the Puritan rules as far as like sex is evil in horror movies. It seemed like that's in a wider scope, going back as far as even to Twilight Zone, especially in Tales from the Crypt, where it seemed that oftentimes the evil were punished for their deeds, for their misdeeds. So if you were a person like one of my favorite episodes of Tales from the Crypt was the one where have you seen this one? Have you ever seen that show before, Nate or Art? Tales from the Crypt, with the
years ago.
One of the ones years ago. It's from forever ago. We were teenagers, I think. But like there was an episode where this woman on Christmas Eve, I think it is, like kills. It's the first episode. She kills her husband, and she's like trying to like hide the body or trying to like find a way to like scam it for insurance, whatever she's trying to do. And they make an announcement that basically a serial killer, a mass murderer escaped from prison, and he's walking around wearing like a Santa Claus suit. So if you see anybody out in the streets in a Santa Claus suit, lock your doors and hide and run away. And they make the announcement at the very beginning of the movie. And of course, cut to a few minutes later, and you see that escaped criminal in a Santa suit trying to get into that person's house. And eventually, of course, it gets in there and this whole shenanigans ensue. But the idea is because the woman committed any evil to begin with, the retribution of the horror rules is then she must be punished by an even greater evil. And that's something that's done all the time in Twilight Zone movies, Twilight Zone shows sometimes, and other horror movies. if you do something evil, then you'll be gotten by more evil. And that kind of fell into a line with the whole idea of sex. Quote unquote, sex is evil, therefore you're opening the door to being punished by, some righteous means.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
Jason Voorhees.
we as Americans have this problem where sex is the most evil thing possible, but violence is totally fine, man.
Yes.
Totally
Yeah.
cool.
Insane.
Despite the fact that every single one of us exists because our parents smashed their naughty bits together, and
Exactly.
and yet we're not allowed to talk about sex, but yet violence is okay. Yeah, sorry, that's a soapbox issue for me. So
No, it's we could talk so long about that. But it's something that I feel ties into this trope because there was that cultural view that sex was evil, and
Yes.
well, maybe not evil, but that it tainted you, and like you're supposed to be pure and virginal, and dragons won't, you sacrifice the virgin to the dragon, and the unicorns won't touch you if you have had sex,
Perfect example. Things that don't exist will praise you because you're a virgin. It's like, wait a minute, so there's no point then, since they don't exist.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a weird. This
Virginity is a
construct. Virginity is a construct. It doesn't exist. It's not real.
it's true. Yeah.
Like,
No.
Well,
sorry.
No, it's true.
well, it's funny. Going back to the Tales from the Crypt, I actually thought you were gonna. There's actually another episode where a wife kills her husband. But the funny thing is,
There's a lot of those.
Yeah,
There's
a lot of those. That was a trope in and of itself. But in the episode, her husband worked for a soap maker, soap company, and
Sure.
And they made a thing at the beginning of the bit where he wants her to join him in the shower kind of thing. And then, later on in the episode, she kills him. And then she realizes that the way she can get rid of the body is by putting him through the soap making process. Because, soap, soap needs, some soap uses animal fat. So she puts him through the process. And then she takes the case of soap of him and takes him into the shower with her as kind of it because, but one of the things that says at the beginning of the clip is that the reason why they stopped using animal fat was because it actually had acidic properties, and she gets dissolved in his acid. So it was one of those. Yeah, like so, and I saw that when I was like 10, maybe.
Quite symbolic.
So so seeing like and also it's late night HBO, so they've got the whole thing, and I'm watching it because I want to see the scene of this pretty lady taking a shower, and then all of a sudden, pretty lady starts turning into the Crypt Keeper, and I was very conflicted at that point in my life. It's like, what is happening to me?
There's just some that you see when you're young that maybe affects you later on in life.
It's like, finally getting to the good stuff. What is happening? Like,
sex is bad. Sex is wrong. I'm so sorry, God. Please, God.
Yep.
And
Oh my gosh.
oh my Lord. So,
in all fairness, though, I would have paid money, good fashion, hard currency, to watch Nate have watched that scene for the first time with his eyes all happy and joyous, and watch his face just fall as the realization that he
The
wasn't
joy
really
drains from the expression.
Yes. Another trope that I like a lot was actually one of our RNI. This is true. One of RNI's favorite videos is Mystery Skulls. They have a video which is kind of like parodying the
Scooby
Mystery Machine. Yeah, the Mystery Machine with the.
Yeah.
Oh, you can tell. It's fine.
Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, Scooby-Doo. And one of the things they do the most, Scooby-Doo, is they always say, let's split up. Obviously, they'll have Fred and Daphne go off and make out somewhere, and they'll have Scooby and Shaggy go off and get high while eating sandwiches, and then Velma will figure everything out. But the idea, they do that oftentimes in other movies, too. It's like, let's split up. It's like, why are you splitting up? That's horrible. Why would you want to get away from safety in numbers to die by yourself alone in a ditch? But they do it all the time. I just saw some movie. What was I just saw? It
never
in the
split
movies.
party. Yeah. I was like,
Both in the
there was an excuse. There was an excuse which didn't work. Not to spoil anything, but I was also like, come on, you could have done this together. You could have gone as a group because you're more powerful as a group. Anyway, opinions about it in this house.
Sure.
Please go ahead.
Sure. No. But you're right though. They would have been more powerful. They established in that film's context that they were more powerful together.
Exactly.
And then they say, well, F that, let's get a price. Like, why? What? No, you're breaking your own rules. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Breaking the rules.
Maybe that's the point. They want to be rebels. I don't know.
Yeah, that's my theme song.
That's the entire thing. No chorus, no bridge, just breaking the rules. Go ahead.
Breaking the law. I'm sorry. Completely derailed. Please go ahead.
As the train careens.
Well, so to shift us from the scary to the even scarier, Disney Plus has come up with its new
scarier.
Comes up with its day one slate of shows and movies, and holy crap! I also loved the way they did it too. I don't know if you guys heard this, but they essentially tweeted out. They said the Disney Plus Twitter said it is time from Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs to The Mandalorian. Check out basically everything coming to Disney Plus, and then for each title, they replied to the tweet with a picture. And so it has like Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, 1937, Pinocchio, Swiss Family Robinson. Like each one of these is an individual tweet response.
Every single one?
Every single
man. A lot.
one.
That was someone's job.
And what was really funny, though, was that somebody, they replied to that. And it looks like it got removed. Oh, man, it got removed. Somebody was Johnny on the spot, and he replied as quickly as he could with Song of the South and had a picture of Song of the South.
Yes, of course.
And what was funny was I was going through, and because he did it like that, I saw it and I thought it was part of the run. And I went, they're doing it. Oh my God, they're doing it. And then I saw it was from a different tweet. And I was like, oh, that bugger. But it looks like they deleted this tweet.
Oh my God.
but yeah, it's
wow. I wonder how many people saw that too. Oh my God, they're doing it. Disney says, F it, we'll go try it.
Yeah. It's bananas. But yeah,
that
holy crap, it's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So if I'm understanding correctly, it is all of their classic animated feature films like Snow White and whatnot, Frozen, one, as well as I guess all the Pixar. But Pixar is officially joined with Disney, right? So all those will be on. And then I guess all of the Fox shows, the back catalogs like Simpsons and whatnot will be on there too. And then all the Marvel movies that have been made. Those will all be there already.
Yeah, a good portion of the Marvel ones, there are some licensing deals that need to work themselves out. So some of the Marvel movies might not be included right away, but a lot of them are. But yeah, and all of Star Wars, this goes deep, man. They've got Davy Crockett, King of the Wild Frontier. They've got they are going deep. Like it's not just the animated films. They're doing like
sure, lots of stuff.
They have 1989's Cheetah. Okay, you want to talk about a blast from my past? Holy crap! Like they've got a ton of stuff. It's just bananas. So if you get a chance, check it out. It's on Twitter. It's Disney Plus on Twitter, and yeah, it's pretty cool. They're gonna have the original Muppet Show.
Willow. Oh man, I haven't seen Willow in a minute.
Willow. Oh, so is Willow Fox?
Yeah, Willow.
Is that how they have Willow?
I believe so. Yeah. That's the other thing too is a lot of this stuff. Like you'll see something, and you'll be like, "That's not Disney," but it wasn't Disney when it was made, but it's Disney's now. And Willow's a perfect example of that.
Everything is Disney now.
Oh yeah,
everything.
I am Disney. We are all Disney.
we literally are all Disney.
Yep.
Wow. Yeah, so all the Fox library, all the Lucasfilm essentially library, then all the Disney extended stuff library, and I guess Marvel more or less licensing stuff too. Yeah, that's pretty much virtually because that's just the back catalogs of stuff.
Yeah,
that alone will last you like forever.
And dude,
it's so much stuff. I'm still scrolling.
Yeah. They have, there was over 600 replies to this tweet, which means there's over 600 different titles. They have the early 90s Marvel animated shows. So the X-Men, Spider-Man, Iron Man.
Oh my God.
And they've got 1981 Spider-Man's going to be on there too. Animated Spider-Man.
Or he's wearing, he looks that horrible outfit.
Yeah.
Wow.
But, you know, like, come on. We got to experience that. Like, it's.
Oh, no, of course.
Adventures of the Gummy Bears. Oh, my God.
Yeah. Oh, wait. What you're saying is the Disney Afternoon. Because that's part of the Gummy Bears are part of the Disney Afternoon. So all of them will be on there.
Yeah.
Darkwing Duck.
Darkwing Duck.
Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers. DuckTales.
DuckTales. Chip and Tail. Tailspin. Original DuckTales. The new DuckTales. The Great Mouse Detective. One of your favorite ones right there.
Yeah, it's my favorite.
Flight of the freaking Navigator. Holy crap. Okay, I'm done.
Right, where he actually travels through time. That's right. Holy crap. Wow. They're so... You know what's funny is just like hearing all these different things. It's almost like it'll be fun to like go down such a nostalgia hole and see everything that pops up, because it's virtually limitless stuff. It's all there now. Yeah, oh my God, that's amazing. That's amazing. Well done, Nate. Well done.
Yes. Well, it's like I had something to do with it.
Wonderful information.
Thank you for doing it. Thank you for creating this, Nate. It's all your fault.
Yes, I'm glad that I was able to discover this. And the way I discovered it is the warden came home and she was like, "Did you see?" And I was like, "What?"
Did she call anybody call us? Did you see? Did you see?
Yeah, I was like,
"Did you see?"
My immediate response was,
"Swear to me."
I was like, my immediate response was, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to." But then she said, "No, you idiot, not that." And then
you did do something.
And she knows, because she said, "No, not that." We'll do that tomorrow.
And I still have no idea what she was talking about. But yeah, it's so I hopped on this thing and I'm supposed to be putting the kid to bed, and I'm like, "I'll put him to bed once I'm done going through this list." And it was like 10 minutes later, she's like, "You're not done yet. Go put him to bed." And I'm like, "All right."
I love it. But going back to what Ari said as far as Willow, I love Willow to pieces. I didn't realize, of course, till many years later, that Matt Mardigan is basically George Lucas's version of Aragorn, and then of course Willow is just his version of a Hobbit, more or less too. So, but yeah, it's still a great movie.
I mean, yeah, like it's not subtle, but
it's not subtle at all. But I just hadn't read or seen Lord of the Rings until after I saw Willow. So. Well, yeah, I love that movie pieces.
Well, that's the thing. Like Willow was kind of like a gateway thing for a lot of folks into fantasy. Like I know it was for me. It was the first fantasy thing I had ever seen. In fact, I remember I went to go see it with my brother. He wanted to take me to it because he loved fantasy stuff, and he saw it and he was like, I'm taking you to this. So I remember going to see it with him, and in fact, I think that was one of the first movie experiences I remember, is going to see Willow. And yeah, man, I loved it.
So you would have been like, because Willow was 87, 88? I mean 88, right?
Let me see. I just passed it.
Willow was 88.
88, yeah. So I was 7.
Okay, so you were what? You're 7 or so, right?
Yeah.
So for that, because that movie, seeing that I didn't see it on the big screen when I was a kid. I saw it on home video. To see that at 7 years old on a big screen, there's some parts in that movie that are very.
It scarred the hell out of me. There are scenes for that movie burned into my brain that I'm like, still have nightmares about. Thanks, Kev. But I say that jokingly. Like in reality, like it was really awesome to see that movie. And then there were parts I probably was a little young to see it, but I liked Gremlins, for God's sake.
Gremlins is also pretty horrific.
Apparently.
PG movie.
Yeah, like apparently I liked horror as a child, and then I grew out of it. Like it was
right.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
oh my gosh, Gremlins, and yeah, Willow also
self-preservation instincts.
Yeah, exactly.
You got smarter as you got older.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
I
guess Alien isn't the Alien series? Isn't that Fox.
Yeah, but that's
Fox,
the Disney Plus is only going to have up to PG-13. Anything above PG-13 is going to Hulu. Because Disney owns Hulu.
So that means it'll be on Hulu then.
Potentially.
So Alien will be on Hulu.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah, they're working that out. But from what I understand, they're positioning Hulu to be their new. What was Disney's adult thing back in the 90s? Was it Castle Rock or New Line Cinema or?
I think it was Touchstone.
Castle Rock.
Castle.
No, sorry.
Castle Rock was a TV.
That is a Stephen King property.
Oh yeah,
it's a show now.
Sorry.
But also Castle Rock was a film because at the end of Seinfeld it always says Castle Rock.
Yeah. It was. It was the other one you said, Touchstone. So they're kind of positioning Hulu to be their touchstone of on-demand service.
Digital, yeah, I got you. Okay, very cool. That's cool. Though. I like that a lot.
Okay. All right.
Yay! All right. Okay.
Cool. All right. So, I think that we're bringing this baby in for a landing. Is there anything either of you would like to plug before we let this go?
Oh man, see, you ask this every time, and every time.
Literally every time.
Maybe I should have thought of this before the episode. No.
After all the epic build-up.
Ask me next week.
Okay, I'll ask. I'll be sure to remember.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would like to promote, in honor of Halloween, my favorite Halloween episode of a TV show is in Community, season 2, where it's I think it's called epidemiology, but they're trapped in this basically in like a school party, and the dean gives them bad the taco meat, or he thinks it's taco meat. It's actually some kind of random stuff that causes them to all pretty much become zombies. But that episode deals with everything, literally everything we talked about today, as far as all these tropes of them falling down, of the jump scares, of a cat flying and over again in front of the characters' faces, of people splitting up to try and cover more ground. It's a direct send up to all these classic horror movie tropes in the best possible way. And it's a lot of fun. So if you have time this Halloween and you have 20 minutes or so, turn on Hulu and watch that episode. It's a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
Seconded. It's very good.
Awesome. I'll definitely have to check that out.
Chime, some kind of a. Yeah.
That was Chicken's done.
Nate, is there anything you'd like to promote?
I would like to plug. I'm going to go with the classic. Since we're talking Halloween, I'm going to go with Treehouse of Horror. The Treehouse of Horror series of The Simpsons is probably
the first 10 are the best.
Yeah, it's probably one of the best situation Halloween runs of a series. I also enjoyed the ones from the original Roseanne TV show was also pretty great, but Treehouse of Horror cannot top, or nothing can top Treehouse of Horror. It is just the parodies that they've done of films over time with that has just been phenomenal. So I've always really enjoyed those episodes.
I think you and I would be in the same boat, but we saw some of the parodies of these films before we saw the films themselves,
definitely.
like The Shining. I saw The Shining parody long before I saw the movie. So,
boy, it's The Shining.
The Shining. Yeah.
Do you want us to get sued?
For recommending movies, then sorry.
No, recommend.
I totally talked over you.
No, I was agreeing with you. Recommend.
Okay. Well, then I was going to recommend one of my favorite horror movies and my favorite horror Halloween movie, Donnie Darko.
That's such a trippy movie.
It's a trip, and a classic for a reason. But I love it for many reasons, and that's my rec.
Nice.
It's definitely what's that guy's name? I forgot the guy who wrote that. It's his best work. I saw a cosplay of Donnie Darko and Frank the Bunny, and they were together. The problem was I saw Donnie Darko first, and it's just some emo-looking kid walking around. I was like, "What? This kid's just some random kid." And then I saw Frank the Bunny afterwards. Like, oh, okay, now I get it. It's Donnie Darko or Frank the Bunny.
I've always wanted to cosplay Bunny Rabbit.
Yeah,
but
it's awesome.
It's still a lot of work.
So yes, it's very hot in there. Yeah.
I liked Donnie Darko, but a buddy of mine showed it to me, and I didn't see it until much later. I didn't see it until like my late 20s, and and it just didn't land on me the way it landed on him. Like I thought it was a good movie. I was like, oh, this is cool and creepy and yeah, kind of cool. But like he thought it was like the best movie ever, and it will change your life. I think he was high the first time he saw it.
I'm sure he was.
And the movie was over, and he's like, "So what'd you think?" And I was like, "It was good." And he just like, "No, it was the most amazing." It was like I crushed his soul because I didn't feel the same emotional drive, and I felt bad. I was like, "I'm sorry, man," but
it's a good movie, but it's not that good.
Yeah, I know.
It's a very weird movie too. Yeah. It's one of those things where you can't bank on someone coming into it watching it the first time. I think it's amazing. Oh my gosh, I love it so much. You have to kind of like. You have to know, like, yeah, this is a weird movie. It may not land with everybody.
I mean, the movie about time travel with an evil bunny rabbit.
Right.
You can't.
That's a premise.
Yeah.
And Patrick Swayze, like, being a pedophile. Oh, no, he watched it, I think. I can't remember how.
No, yeah, he's a pedophile.
He was, okay, yeah, he was a pedophile.
Not Patrick Swayze, his character.
Wow.
Yeah,
yes, I apologize. Not Patrick Swayze.
No,
not Patrick Swayze. His character in Donnie Darko. Yeah.
May he rest in peace.
May he rest in peace. And his mother. And his beautiful.
No, we don't want pedophiles to rest.
No, we're not. Patrick Swayze and his beautiful mullet rest in peace as we derail further down the tumbleweeds of train.
Anyway.
We have taken a journey.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go. It'll be fine.
Well, before you go, let me go ahead and land this puppy. You can find Ari on Twitter at Ornerine. You can find Ethan at echelongnovels.com. You can find Nate at nathanbeattyvo.com. You can find more information on the podcast at echelongnovels.com/CIP or our new website, www.thecipnetwork.com. You can call us at 434-481-1787 and leave a voice message, and we will be happy to play it on the show. And you can check us out on YouTube. You can check us out on Twitch. You can also support us directly at thecipnetwork.com/support or on Patreon. Our intro and outro music is the song Amigos by Platinum Butterfly, copyright 2015, licensed under Creative Commons Attribution 3.0. You can find more of their stuff at dig.ccmixter.org, featuring Clarence Simpson and Susan Ooze Oz. Thank you so much for listening to us today, and y'all have a wonderful day.
Clarence Thomas.
Oh, snap. They're going to have the journey of Natty Gann. Oh, sorry. I said that too early.